I'll say to the guy, "Hey, buddy, I believe in you. You got this," and then just walk away. And Henry will sidle over and be like, "What he means to say is."
And it's always fascinating to me that even on big budget films like this, shit happens. This episode is brought to you by the best-selling book, Rise of the Film Entrepreneur, How to Turn Your Independent Film into a Money-Making Business. Learn more at filmbizbook.com. I'd like to welcome to the show Rel Schulman and Henry Joost. How you guys doing?
Hi.
Good. How are you?
Good, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, guys. I've been watching your stuff for years, man. Back in the Catfish days. So, very first question I asked for you guys: why in God's green earth did you want to get into this insanity that is the film industry?
Oh God, I don't think we're any good at anything else.
At this point, I don't know how to do anything else. It was a huge mistake, and now I can't back out.
Right, we should have gotten a real job somewhere else doing something. Yeah. No, so how did you guys get in? How did you get started?
It was a complex road, but I think it started out as being just kids who loved movies growing up, and then at some point there was the realization that there were people who actually do that as a job. They make movies, which totally blew my mind at some point. When I was I think I was 16 or something, and I met somebody who was a video producer. And I was like, wow, so there are real people who work in this business, and that's something you could pursue. I personally became an editor, and that's when Rel and I met in high school, and I was kind of interested in experimenting with video editing and shooting stuff in high school and making films and little short films and stuff with my friends. And Rel and I met in high school, but we really connected in our early 20s. We both had a job at this public access TV station called Plum TV. And that was our summer job between, when we were in college. And it was this kind of wild place where we were, as 21-year-olds, given the responsibility to they were you can make your own show. So I made a show about Hampton's nightlife, and Rel made a kind of a restaurant conversation show. And also a plastic surgery show, right?
Yeah, a beauty makeover show, Hampton style, which was slice and dice.
It's very
stunning how the Academy didn't recognize your work back then.
And they were like, you guys, you can write, direct, shoot, edit everything, your own half-hour show, but you have to turn it in every week. So we were we had this crazy experience, which was making a half-hour show in 1 week all by yourself. And we kind of commiserated over that and, started having our ideas of our own. I hope this is not our future to make, plastic surgery shows and stuff like that. What else can we do? So we started making documentaries and kind of branching out on our own, and eventually formed a production company, which we still have, Supermarché, which we started in 2007.
Very cool, guys. But I always wanted to ask, directing teams. I've had a few directing teams on the show, and I love asking this question. How the hell do you do it, man? Because I've been directing for 20 odd years, and I can't understand how, does somebody handle the camera? Does someone handle the actors? Or, do you guys just ask all the time? What do you think? What do you think? How do you actually work together as a directing team?
Think about if you were on vacation with your wife and kids, and you had 50 to 100 kids.
I'm sorry, my ass just puckered there for a second, sir. I'm sorry.
You got to figure out how to get out of the airport, get onto a train, and check into a complicated hotel.
Sure.
And there's something wrong with your reservation. How do you split that with your wife? You kind of just figure it out. You both have extraordinary, total responsibility, and you got to work together as a team. And you've been together for a while.
And you guys know each other so well at this point that I'm assuming it's just secondhand.
Yeah.
you just know, oh, this shot's this or that shot's that, or you both have similar sensibilities at this point.
Yeah, I think so.
I think we have to. Otherwise, this wouldn't work.
So then at what point, I have to believe, just like my wife and I, there's disagreements. So how do you guys handle those disagreements, or when you're creatively not exactly on the same page?
We try to disagree only in private.
Smart.
We
never
never
in front of the
publicly
kids.
disagree.
Never in front of the kids.
in front of the kids.
Never in front of the kids.
No,
That's right. Especially
that
when you have
causes
50
trauma.
to
That causes
100
lifelong
kids.
trauma.
You know what? It's so funny, but that's what my wife and I do. We're like, we will back each other in front of the kids. But the second the door closes to the bedroom, I can't believe you did that. I'm like, I know. Let's have a conversation. But that's just like an unspoken rule. You never do it in front of the kids. So that's similar to you guys as well?
Oh yeah, we're in production meetings and like one of us will say, like, I'll say, I want 1 million balloons in this scene, and somebody is like, Rel, that's what you got, like that's what both of you guys want. And Rel's like, yep, we definitely want 1 million balloons. And then everybody leaves and the door closes and he's like, what the fuck were you talking about? We didn't talk about that. We never agreed. Have 1 million. Isn't 1 million excessive?
And then you go back the next day. Yeah, then you go back the next day. You're like, we talked about it. 10,000 balloons is fine.
Yeah, it's 2 million, please. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. But you can appear as extremely collaborative and reasonable if we come back the next day and say, you know what, we were looking at the whole budget. I realized as filmmakers we could achieve what Henry was so right to want with less balloons,
obviously,
and better craft service.
Very cool. So you made this, one of those seminal movies of the early 2000s, which is Catfish. I remember when Catfish came out, the documentary, and it was a freaky film, and it was wonderful. And you got into Sundance. What was that whole experience of making that film and then getting it to Sundance? Which I'm assuming was that the first time you guys were in Sundance?
Mm-hmm.
That was our first feature film.
Right. So then what's that? So you out of the gate, you get into Sundance with this documentary that's, sets the world on fire a bit. What was that whole experience like?
It was awesome.
It was wild. Awesome. Yeah.
It was an awesome roller coaster.
We got a little spoiled, I think, because we never, we both of us grew up so disconnected from the film industry, and like we didn't really know anybody who worked in the film industry and hadn't been to Sundance and I don't even know if we'd ever been to a film festival. Like,
that's awesome.
And
I've been to the East Village Film Festival,
which is just like Sundance, but different.
Yeah,
like Sundance, but no, it doesn't snow.
Exactly.
And
there was
so we kind of didn't know what to expect, and we had two great guides in the experience, which were Andrew Jarecki and Mark Smerling, who were the producers of Capturing the Freedmans, and they became producers on Catfish after we'd made it, because we were just like, what do we do with this? We made this movie and we had this like pretty good rough cut that we showed to our friends. They're like, I can't believe this. Is this real? Like, this is insane. What do we do now? And they were like, okay, so you go to Sundance and here's how it works. And,
and you get
a really warm jacket.
Oh yes. We could have a whole episode on how to prepare for Sundance in Park City.
Yeah. Long underwear.
Long underwear.
Stay hydrated.
Real socks, thermal socks, not tube socks.
No, not tube socks, and waterproof boots. There's a lot of slushing around.
And they never tell you about the altitude, do they? Like you walk 15 feet and you're like,
yeah, but if you're getting good reviews, it's a little easier to deal with.
It's a slight bit easier to deal with.
I'll never forget that. I really feel like that was the moment our careers began in earnest as feature filmmakers. And it was, but less than 5 minutes after the first screening, which was a 10 a.m. screening at the library and at Sundance. And a woman comes up to us, Rowena Arguelles, who's an agent at CAA, and she was the agent of Andrew Jarecki and Mark Smerling, our producers. And so there was some familiarity and some, I guess, trust, because otherwise we had no idea what that world looked like or who to talk to or who to trust or what agency or anything. And there was just someone who knew someone we knew. and we said, all right, we'll sign with you. And that day we had agents, and and we've been there ever since. And they've helped us like forge a path as working movie directors, which is not something we even really planned for or had totally clearly seen for ourselves.
It's fascinating that, I mean, you guys kind of like, I mean, you obviously had been directing and working hard and hustling to get to where you were. But when you got to Catfish, it was kind of like, all right, what do we do with this? And you just kind of like felt like, oh, you go to Sundance. Sure, submit to Sundance, get into Sundance, get an agent at CAA. It sounds like, yeah, this is just what you do. It's extremely difficult, everything that you've just said. And you guys were at the right place at the right time with the right product.
Alex, the 10 years leading up to that, and listen, it hasn't been easy since. The hustle never stops. Right. But the 10 years leading up to that were, I mean, 2, 3, multiple all-nighters every week to make as many videos and to get better and better at our craft as possible. And that was the public access TV shows like Henry was talking about. But it was like an extraordinary amount of wedding videos, bar mitzvah videos, industrial films, anything anybody in New York wanted on film and desired a finished product, we said yes. And partially it was to make money. I think neither of us wanted another job. We wanted this to be the job. And the only way for that to work and to cover rent every month, which we were doing by like a matter of hours at the end of every month, was just to make and make and make. And we ended up buying our own equipment. We had a storage locker with a couple cameras, a couple computers, sound equipment, lighting equipment. And that equipment is what allowed us to shoot and pay for Catfish on our own. And
there you go. I mean, it's you were a 10-year overnight success, basically, is what you're saying.
Right.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. We had done the legwork we were prepared for that incredible opportunity to fall in our laps. That the opportunity being just the story of Catfish unfolding in front of us. Like we knew enough of what we were doing to capture the story, and then we took a really long time trying to figure it out in the edit. And we had our friend Zach Stewart Pontier, who had been working on all of our other weird stuff that we were doing. Like we directed the recruitment video for Harvard Business School. Like that was like, it was like that's awesome. And like weddings and pharmaceutical videos and like the strangest stuff, like just anything. Just
anything,
said yes to everything. Yeah,
man, I said yes to everything too when I was starting.
Everything,
anything that came along as I was an editor and a director. Anything that showed up, I just did. I mean, I did promos for Matlock.
Hey, that's a good one.
For like 6 months working as a freelancer. I was getting paid well, but my soul was dying with every edit. But
I'll tell you, the toughest clients we ever had were, but also the most loyal, were the Jewish mothers for the bar mitzvah videos, bat mitzvah videos. And that prepared us for the studio executives like nothing else. It made dealing with studio heads piece of cake.
Exactly. So yeah, you don't want to mess with a Jewish mother on the bar mitzvah day.
Or a bride. Rel was once accused of ruining a bride's life.
Yeah.
Oh God, Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know what you could imagine when he says that, but all it really was I didn't get enough footage of her coming down the aisle, which was a mistake. My camera was pointed in the wrong direction. There was 2 of us and we were both shooting the groom. And then we saw each other. We're like, oh shit, one of us needs to point that way. And we tried to fake it in the edit by slowing it down, cutting away, and then coming back.
Reusing the same
moment.
Footage. Yeah.
And they're like,
called us out. She was like, is that all you have? Because that's not enough. That was a long aisle.
I got one better for you. I did a wedding as a favor, because I never did wedding videos because I just never got into that. But I did a wedding as a favor, and I shot like the bride party or something, like the dinner or whatever, the pre-dinner thing. And I was just got a new photo camera. It was all film. And I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to use this really high speed film. I'm not going to use flash.
Oh no.
Oh
dude,
no.
It was black.
Oh no.
So I was the only thing shooting it. Look, you guys are both just like, it's dude. And it was a friend of mine and I was the best man at that wedding. So the bride just she wanted to kill me. She's like, you ruined. I have no photos of that day. That was
but she didn't know until at least a week later. Though.
A week later, because you had to film all that stuff. And I was just like, how do I?
Ooh, that's brutal.
And this is before iPhone, so there was literally no coverage.
Nothing.
There's nothing of that night. It was like I was the photo. So I feel you, bro. I feel you. I've ruined a bride or two's wedding myself. Apparently.
I still live with that guilt.
I wake up in cold sweat sometimes.
Yeah, it sounds like you do too, Alex. But you know what? That kind of failure fuels me. And shooting the movies that we shoot now, which are, they're big budget, they're studio movies. There's a lot of pressure. If you don't get something, we're the ones who pay for it in the edit 6 months later.
Right.
You can't make a scene work. You can't make a transition work. And it haunts us for the rest of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Oh, I've been there, man. When you show me like, oh God, why didn't I get that one wide shot or that one insert? And you just like, how do you cut around? And you're like, and then you don't want to go back and go, we need a pickup day. You don't want to do that.
I mean, you know what though? We try to never forget the Catfish mentality, which was that we can shoot anything. We can make anything happen with the equipment, with our mediocre skills, and that goes for pickups too. So we never say it's impossible, and we've managed to figure out something, whether we shoot it in the edit suite or in a friend's garage. Or...
You read my mind. I did that on my first feature. I did that on my first feature. There was like a whole scene, and I didn't cut any inserts. And we literally I literally just went to the edit room, grabbed the same camera, shot an insert of like a dog on a pillow, cut away.
Yeah. We shot stuff in the editing room for this movie.
Did you really?
We do it on every movie, I would say. Like we have a Blackmagic 6K
perfect
camera that just travels with us, part of our kit. And so we're in the edit constantly. We'll be like, I'm gonna go shoot that in the hallway right now, and usually we do a rough version, and then sometimes we even bring the actors back, or we get the props in the editing office, so we can always we have a room just like that's full of the props, so we can just get inserts, get whatever we need.
And now you don't have to bring out a 35 millimeter Panavision camera and wait a few days to shoot it. You could just pick up that little camera, boom, take the card out and pop it in, and now you're shooting and you're ready to rock.
Yeah.
So let me ask you, Matt. So you guys went from Catfish to directing small films like Paranormal Activity 3 and 4, which were not big budget films. They were actually small budgets, considering it's a studio, but they made massive amounts of money. So what is that like? How does the town treat you? What is that experience like? Because I know so many filmmakers would love to know what it's like being inside of the kind of the hurricane or the tornado that is being part of those kind of franchises and making that kind of money with those films.
Yeah, I mean, making the studio's money it turns out to be very important.
a key to a career, as you're saying.
There's a couple ways to cut it, but Jason Blum was a big fan of Catfish, and he was producing those Paranormals at the time, and there had been Paranormal 2. And he had seen an early cut of Catfish in New York. He was friends with Jarecki, and he was like, oh shit, this is a good vibe for found footage. I think he believed us that Catfish was real, which it is, but a lot of people didn't. And so he showed it to the crew of Paranormal 2 at Paramount and was like, guys, this is what found footage feels like. This is the aesthetic. This is the tone. Imitate this. And so by the time they got to Paranormal 3, they were like, well, why don't you try those goofballs and see if they have any ideas for Paranormal 3. And it turned out the studio, Adam Goodman and a couple other bigwigs at Paramount were convinced it was fake, which I think made them even more interested in us. Paranormal being a fake found footage movie. And there was nothing we could do to convince them it wasn't. And I think we just kind of looked at each other and just like, zip it, buddy. Let them think what they need to think. Let's take our first like real paying job.
Right. And run with it. And you guys did a great job with those films. And I imagine there was a little bit of pressure running into like a very successful franchise at this point.
Paranormal 3, I mean, it's not that there wasn't pressure. It was a pressure cooker, but there was something about like Paranormal 3 had lower, because Paranormal 2 did really well, but it didn't do as well as Paranormal 1. It was, I think, seen as sort of a steadily declining franchise. So there was, which is pretty normal, I think, unless sometimes things pop. But we kind of had a lot of freedom in Paranormal Activity 3 and had a lot of fun, even though it was this incredibly compressed production window. Like, we landed in LA 6 months before the release date. We live in New York, and Jason Blum was like, I need you guys to get on the first flight, the 6 a.m. flight tomorrow. And we were like, how long are we going to be in LA for? And he was like, 6 months until the movie comes out. And we landed there, and there was no script, and there was no cast, and there was so we went from nothing at all to a movie in the movie theater in 6 months. And
that's a Jason.
So that's classic Jason. But it was pretty fun. Weirdly, Paranormal 4 became higher pressure because Paranormal 3 did so well that then all eyes were on 4, and I think it actually made it a less fun, more kind of constrictive creative environment than 3. 3 was so actually the code name for the movie was Summer Camp, I think, and it did kind of feel like summer camp. Like, we had this house, it was all wired up with lights, and we had the cast, everybody was really good at improv, and we were just messing around all day.
It's fun. I've had Jason on the show. He is a force of nature. He's a force of nature. One of the most entertaining conversations I've ever had on the show. He's awesome, dude. Yeah. He's a madman. Now, is there something that you wish somebody would have told you at the beginning of your career? Like, you guys can go back and tell yourself something like, listen, guys, this is what you really need to do. First of all, get the shot of that bride.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Always make sure one camera's pointed at the bride.
Yeah, right.
Other than that, is there anything else you wish you would have known at the beginning? That's it. Really. Keep a camera on the bride. That pretty much covers everything.
Yeah.
Ben Younger gave us good advice, which we took, which was don't wait forever after your first feature to make your second feature. Make your second feature as quickly as you possibly can.
Don't be precious about it.
Don't be precious. Just do it.
Yeah.
As quickly as you can. And he said, he was like, advice we should have taken, which was like, I think when we were at Sundance, we were basking in the attention and the movie, we were traveling with the movie and stuff like that and doing Q&As. He was like, you should be writing your next movie. You should be figuring out your next movie now, because when things die down, you're just going to be sitting there like, what do I do next?
Yeah. And you get so caught up in the festivals and all those free dinners and meeting Danny DeVito, and you're like, oh shit, it's been 6 months and we don't have anything. And it wasn't easy to get another job because Catfish was weird,
right? Stylistically.
I think people liked the storytelling and were curious, but they weren't like, oh, let's give these guys I don't know, a Marvel movie or whatever they were looking for in 2012 or whatever that was. And so Paranormal 3 was kind of the only studio gig that we were really up for, because it matched the style of Catfish so well. So we were really lucky that found footage was still a popular genre at that moment. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it would have been a tougher transition out of Catfish.
I have to ask you, with all that attention you guys got off of not only Catfish, but also when you did it with Paranormal 3, how do you guys keep your egos in check? Because, man, that is such a danger in our business. It's like when you start, everyone tells you you're great. It's tough. It's tough. Do you guys keep both of you guys keep each other in check?
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah. I think we're pretty hard on ourselves, both of us.
Okay.
Just a little Jewish self-hate. Always.
There's a lot of imposter syndrome even to this day.
Yeah, I think when people are like, "Oh, it's really great," I'm like, Rel and I, even when we talk to each other in private, we're like, "It's okay, right?" It's
not really that good, is it?
It could be better.
I think it's a belief that we can keep getting better. So I don't think we're ever going to say that's as good of a film as we can possibly make. Now it's time to relax. It's like there's always things that we could have improved. There's shots that we could have gotten. We could have storyboarded more. We could have been more prepared. And we'll get them on the next one.
Yeah, we'll do better next time.
No, I mean, I've talked to so many people on the show that, big, huge, won Oscars and so on, legends. And sometimes I go, do you guys still have imposter syndrome? They're like, yes. I'm like, really? It's like massive. It's fascinating to me.
But it's like, what is the satisfaction we're looking for as filmmakers? So Paranormal 3 was at the time the biggest horror opening weekend ever.
Right.
And we're like, whoa, okay, this feels pretty great. But doesn't win an Oscar. Of course not. Not that we were expecting that.
God, yeah. What I mean, I felt that you were robbed. I felt you were robbed personally. That's just
best documentary.
Exactly.
Or was it like it's not going to the Cannes Film Festival, but a lot of people like it? So it's like you can't really hit every single base with a film. So what is the total satisfaction of filmmakers with? I don't know. You just want to feel like you tried your hardest, right?
And look, if you get a movie made, it's a miracle. If you get a movie finished in the can out to people to watch, it's an absolute miracle every time.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Every time.
It's a huge achievement.
Oh, it's a massive achievement, especially when you're at that level, when you're in the studio system even. I mean, yeah, you got money and you've got infrastructure and all that stuff. But that anything gets even made is a mystery, honestly.
Yeah, it is. It's a total miracle every time.
Yeah. To make a coherent movie is even harder.
Right.
Like I'm like to me, compliments start at like, well, you made the movie. Like that's it. That's where they start. And then it's like, and it's coherent.
Yeah.
Like
makes sense.
I understand what's happening in it.
I finished it.
I finished it.
Yeah.
But like,
no, for you to say your kids finished the movie, whether they liked it or didn't like it, like it made sense.
That's a win. That's a win.
Yeah.
It is so hard.
We met with a guy
just to shoot day one on a movie, just to get to the point where the operation, the small business or it's a big business has come together, has come to life. It's standing on its legs. It's been a year. It's been 2 years, whatever it is. It's now there's 100 people standing there. A lot of money's on the line and a camera's rolling. It's like
amazing.
That's a miracle.
Yeah, without question. And then so you go on to do Viral with Jason again, which was awesome, and Nerve, which was such a unique. I love Nerve, like the way you shot it, the idea behind it. There was a lot of layers to that onion, which was really great. But then you make a movie like Project Power, which is a slight jump in budget. Since Catfish, it's a slight budget jump.
It's about 1,000 times more.
So you're now working on essentially a mini tentpole movie or a tentpole movie for Netflix, and you're working with an Oscar winner and a massive movie star like Jamie Foxx. When you walk on the set, how do you guys deal with the pressure of that? Because look, you're like, I did Paranormal, that's at $5 million. I did Paranormal 4 or $5 million. And yeah, you've definitely jumped up in budget with the other films that you did. But even from Nerve, I mean, Project Power is a huge jump for you guys. So how did you guys deal with the pressure of just having that on you with an Oscar winner like Jamie Foxx, a legend like him, and all that stuff? How did you guys deal with it, man?
Besides Xanax?
Cocaine, lots and lots.
Uppers and downers.
Exactly.
We've never really talked about this, Henry, but the moment on day one where we always give a speech to the crew,
Sure.
There's 100 people standing around, something motivational like a coach might do in a great football movie. And there is such a pit of anxiety and nervousness in my chest. Like it makes me feel like I'm in high school and I've got to speak to the whole school in the auditorium. Or I don't know if you guys ever jumped off a trapeze when you were a kid, and you look over.
Where did you go to school?
That wasn't school.
Hogwarts.
That was the circus. And so I mean that's the pressure, right? That is pressure, which is everyone staring at us. I feel like a kid. I don't know how old they see me as or how experienced they think we are, but I feel like we're not supposed to be here. And
security.
We need to prove to them that we know what we're doing, we're comfortable, and we're in charge, and they can look at us as confident leaders.
Well, that brings up a great point, is a lot of times, especially when you're young directors, or even when you're not that young, if they just don't know what you've done before, how do you deal with the politics of the set? Like crew, when you've got that 60 or 70-year-old DP who's been around is like, when I worked with Coppola on The Godfather, and then you're like, what are you doing? And you have to kind of come up against like, I want to shoot it this way. You're like, yeah, no, that's not the way we're going to shoot it. Like, how do you deal with that? One of
the special effects guy on Project Power built the rock in Raiders of the Lost Ark, the boulder.
Yes. Awesome.
And we see that on his IMDb, and we're like, it's an honor to meet you.
So yeah, exactly. And I've had the opportunity to work with these kind of people like that too. You're like, the guy who built the boulder on Raiders, he's probably done a few things in his career.
Yeah.
So,
but we come at it with a lot of love. Like, we're movie fans, so we're just like, you worked on Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Like, what was that? How did you build the giant ant
or the Oreo? Like, how did you like?
Yeah, well, that was awesome. But like, I don't know. I learned a lot from Mike Simmons, who's been our cinematographer many times. Just about, he has this great way of dealing with people and not offending people. And he does, like, there are a couple of mannerisms. Like, he always says, I assume this. He'll go up to people and be like, I assume that you're putting these lights up because we need this to come to the side. Like, it's not like, why the fuck are you putting these over here? It's like, he'll be like, he'll say his understanding of things. Like, that's really helpful. And like, I think just being respectful and
nice,
like just being nice and being, and giving people like, I mean, we're not experts in everything. We're really experts in nothing, and like we hire people who are experts in things, who know a lot more, have a lot more experience, are better, and it's like letting that experience, learning from that, but we have been lucky a bunch of times, like on Paranormal 3. And I think with Jamie Foxx on Project Power, we were sort of seen as these, like, on 3, they were like, well, these guys are kind of renegades. Like, they made Catfish, and like Catfish was our reference film for Paranormal 2. So like, maybe you guys can like show us a thing or two. Jamie Foxx was like just the greatest person to work with. And he's like, I trust you guys. I've seen your stuff. Like, show me the way. Tell me what to do. I trust your taste. I think you guys are really cool. And I think he gave us credit of being much cooler than we actually are. But like, we haven't had that experience where it's the opposite of that with a movie star, where it's someone who's guarded and suspicious and doesn't, cause like that trust relationship has to be there for everybody. So it's establishing that, making sure it's there.
Yeah. If I may quote the greatest action film of all time, Patrick Swayze, Roadhouse, be nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Be nice.
It's amazing. I know. So sometimes we hear things, people be like, wow, you guys are really nice directors. And we're like, what are the other guys like? But here's the sympathy I have for an asshole director, or the empathy. There's so much on the line for us on a movie that everything that happens, every decision that gets made, everything that's in the movie sort of gets blamed on us, blamed or attributed to. If you're working on the movie, you can kind of like move on. As long as your reputation is solid, you can get your next job. Like, our next job kind of depends on how this movie does. Mm-hmm. And so that we feel that pressure every day. And I think maybe some directors are like, I need everyone else to feel that pressure. Why aren't they feeling the same pressure I'm feeling right now? And they explode and they go berserk. And that actually is not conducive to a good
situation. I mean, yeah, exactly. I think you guys in the next film should show up with monocles and a
megaphone.
A megaphone.
Bullhorn,
Bullhorn, a big old school bullhorn.
Yeah.
Now,
tell Henry, if there's one thing I think you're an expert at, hopefully there's more than one thing. It's quilt making, which is how to arrange this tapestry of experts and to get all those squares in the quilt to match and to make an overall piece.
Thanks.
Yeah.
You're talking about people or actual quilts?
Actual quilts, yeah.
Actual quilts. I mean, as a director,
I can show you my quilt making.
Home goods.
It's very nice.
Now tell me about your new film, A Secret Headquarters.
It's a family.
It's our first movie that kids can watch.
Right. I was about to say on your filmography, doesn't seem that this was a match for your.
It's a PG. Yeah, it's a PG movie. It's a family movie. It's really fun. It's actually something that we've wanted to make. It's been on our bucket list for a long time, is to make a movie that reminds us of the movies that made us fall in love with movies as kids. You know, so it kind of.
What were your inspirations? What was your inspiration for this?
Well, Jerry Bruckheimer, when we first talked to him about this, which was a wild experience, he was like, "I've got this thing. It's Home Alone in the Batcave. It's called Secret Headquarters. Home Alone in the Batcave." And we were like, "Say no more."
Got it.
Yeah, had me at hello.
We're in. Yeah, and it's about a kid. It's kind of it's a superhero movie, but it's from the perspective of the son of the superhero. And what would it be like to be, Iron Man's son, but he never told you he's a superhero and you think he's just working all the time. But actually, he's got this incredible secret headquarters under his house full of gadgets and awesome cars and stuff like that. And he's zipping off all over the world, saving the world. Meanwhile, you're at home thinking your dad's like a nerd who's just like fixing people's servers. And it just like really got our imaginations going, and we were just like, this would be my favorite movie when I was 11.
Oh yeah
everything about it.
If this film came out in like the 80s, it'd be up there with like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, or those kind of, or Never Ending Story, or those kind of fun films. And I was watching it. I mean, I definitely
9.5 weeks.
Obviously 9.5 weeks, and Two Moon Junction,
sure.
Two Moon Junction. As well. But when I was watching it, there's a little bit of Spy Kids flown around in there. You could sense that the DNA of Spy Kids in there as well.
Yeah, sure.
But there's a lot of that. Just so much. It was a lot of fun, and Owen must have been a ball to work with.
Oh,
he's so great.
What a sweet guy. What a good-natured collaborator.
Yeah.
Is he pretty much like he is in his
He's
characters?
like what he is. He's like how he is.
I think he's even kinder than you think he might be.
And you forget what a great writer he is. Like he wrote.
Oh yeah.
He co-wrote, Royal Tenenbaums and Rushmore and Bottle Rocket. Like when we had rehearsals with him, we got into these dialogue riffs, and we would just write it down, and then we'd go home that night and we'd rewrite the scene and we'd send it to him, and he was like, and we'd pop it back and forth. Like that was such a fun experience to have with an actor.
Now, as directors, we all have that day on set that is like you feel the entire world's going to come crashing down around you. You losing the sun, camera breaks, actor breaks his ankle, whatever. Generally, it's every day something like that happens. But was there one moment on that film that was like, oh my God, what was that moment, and how did you guys get through it?
Yeah, Henry, I don't know if I think I just realized today I was going through pictures what one of the biggest problems was. I mean, there's always money problems, but
what was it?
There's a huge prop / character in the movie, and it's the G-Mobile.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's a retrofitted 69 Volkswagen bus that Owen Wilson's character has turned into like a superhero crime-fighting truck. And it wasn't ready. And it was in scenes across the movie, like big action car chase scenes. And the guys who were building it weren't done, and it was shooting in like 2 days, and it was so far from done
we kept pushing it back. Remember, we were like, it was in the schedule, and we'd be like, well, we'll shoot this side of the scene now, and then in a month we'll shoot this side of the scene because the thing is supposed to be in the background.
Yeah, I mean, just like imagine if they didn't have the Batmobile.
It doesn't. Yeah, obviously.
And the schedule is so fragile, especially with movie stars like Owen and he's shooting Loki, and it's all like happening at the same time. And we're at the point where like the studio and the line producer, everyone's like, well, you need to be ready to erase the G-Mobile from the whole concept from the movie. But you've already shot many scenes where it exists before it gets retrofitted when it's just a VW bus. And that, I mean, you really sweat that out.
We had staked our reputations on this vehicle. I remember we were kind of dying on our swords about it because there was a lot of pressure even before that to cut it, to completely cut it from the movie. And we were like, no,
just because it was expensive.
There can't be a superhero movie without, like a superhero vehicle. And that's just, it has to, we have to have that. And it was kind of it was on us. I remember pulling the picture car guy aside at one point and I was like, listen, buddy.
You got your toughest act.
I was like, listen, I'm going to try to say this in a really nice way, but like, if this thing isn't ready, we're never going to work again. He was like, oh God. All right, let me see.
If this isn't ready by tomorrow, guys, I know where you live.
Yeah,
okay.
It's our fault.
We do like a good cop, bad cop thing sometimes where I'll say to the guy, hey, buddy, I believe in you. You got this. And then just walk away. And Henry will sidle over and be like, what he means to say is...
and it's always fascinating to me that even on big budget films like this, shit happens.
Oh my God. By the skin of your teeth. Yeah.
It's like, so those indie sensibilities never kind of go away. You sometimes gotta like, how am I going to make this work? The damn truck, the picture car is not ready, which you would think that on a budget of this size and this kind of size project, that would be the least of your issues.
Yeah.
But,
you'd think.
One would think. one would think.
I mean,
now, when is this coming out?
We have yet to work on that movie that's like has such a big budget that you can, you don't have to worry about anything. I don't know if that really exists.
One day you'll hear this sentence. All you have is time and money, guys. So enjoy yourselves. Right. That's a sentence that no filmmaker has ever heard ever.
Yeah. Right.
No matter who you are. Maybe Chris Nolan. Maybe Chris Nolan gets that conversation. Maybe he gets that conversation. Now, when's this coming out, guys?
It comes out August 12th.
August 12th.
Is that next week?
Yeah.
Oh, that's in a little more than a week.
Yeah.
On
Paramount Plus.
On Paramount Plus.
Now, I'm going to ask you a few questions I ask all of my guests. What advice would you give a filmmaker trying to break into the business today?
Say yes to any project offered to you. Don't
point the
turn your
camera
nose
at the bride.
You read my mind.
At least one camera.
At all times.
Okay.
No, just say, because a lot of times we get a little uppity as filmmakers and just like, no, I'm the next Spielberg. I'm the next Tarantino. I don't do weddings.
Yeah, what? I don't see why not. A wedding is built-in drama. I mean, look at a wedding as a documentary. About people on a really important day with a lot of pressure. And all family. I mean, some of the greatest movies, it's a genre of filmmaking, which is the family gathering, the reunion, like The Big Chill or something like that. Or Rachel getting married. Those are great movies. You have an opportunity. Someone's paying you to make a documentary about that. That's the way we approached it. And it was great training.
Yeah.
I mean,
practice.
Man, any job that came along, man, I would take it. I didn't care what it was. It was like, you're going to pay me to edit, I'll work. You're going to pay me to shoot, I'll do it. It's just, And sometimes it's great.
Yeah.
A lot of times it isn't, but at least you're not out there hustling another job and you get to at least work on your craft.
Yeah, exactly. Most of them weren't great.
Yeah. No, they weren't.
Now,
they're terrible. Yeah.
Now, what is the lesson that took you the longest to learn, whether in the film industry or in life?
Change my socks midday. I don't know what I was waiting for.
That was a good one. Even change your shoes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We bring 2 pairs of shoes to set now.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like, freshen up. Those are long days.
I'll tell you what.
It's a great feeling.
They never teach you this in film school. Good shoes on set.
Good shoes.
On set, because I'm always on my feet. I don't know about you guys. I'm always I rarely
all day.
Rarely sit down. I like when I sit down, I'm like, oh God, I can't get back up. I keep going.
You gotta keep moving. Yeah.
Totally, man. I think Doug Liman does not accept a director's chair on his sets.
Wow.
Because he refuses to ever sit down on set.
There's a few directors I've heard that don't allow chairs at all.
Yeah. There's a few. I mean, and then there's
don't allow cell phones.
And then there's the Peter Jacksons who have a recliner on set.
That's what I'm talking about.
On Lord of the Rings, they would just literally carry around a lazy boy. He would just sit down. It was the best.
That's awesome. Apparently, the room we cut Project Power in on 6th Avenue in New York City was the room that Oliver Stone cut something in, Henry, remember?
Yeah.
He had a leather recliner brought into that edit room that he just loved.
Listen, I've had Oliver on the show, and
man, lucky you.
And he was one of the most interesting conversations I've ever had in my entire life.
He is so smart.
Oh my God, he's so smart, and I tell people this all the time, and you guys, I think you guys would agree. There's not another 10-year period in any filmography like Oliver Stone's. From
Platoon,
from Platoon, a movie a year, and everyone was like Oscar,
incredible,
Oscar. It's just there's just nobody that's ever had a run like that.
Yeah, well, Coppola's run is pretty solid too.
Well, you know, he's all right. He did okay.
Okay. I recommend Oliver Stone's book is really great.
Oh yeah, and that's why he was on the show.
Especially listening to it on tape or on Audible. Like he has such a great voice.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a great audiobook.
Yeah, it's a great audiobook.
I
love filmmaker audiobooks.
We loved Barry Sonnenfeld's book.
Dude, I got when we get off, I'll tell you the story. I had Barry on the show too, and in the first 5 minutes, he told me his porn story of how he got started in porn.
Oh,
I'll tell you that story.
Oh my God, it's too. That chapter is like.
I think it's in the book.
Oh, it's in the book, right?
It's in the book. That's disgusting.
The first 5 minutes of our conversation, that's what he starts with. I'm like, okay, Barry, I guess you've set the tone now. The rest is like porn, man. That's how I got my start, porn. And then in the book, he's talking about how he started, and he said yes to everything. And he had to pay his camera off. He had to pay a 60 millimeter camera off.
Yeah.
He did it for maybe a little longer than he needed to.
Well, by the way, that porn paid half the camera off in a week. So I mean,
and then he shoots Blood Simple.
Totally worth it.
Blood Simple from a party that he met this tall, thin guy in the corner who wasn't talking to anybody. He's like, hey, I got a camera. Hey, you want to shoot something? Great. And that's how his career starts.
Yeah. But it was just the sizzle reel for Blood Simple.
Yeah, it was a sizzle reel.
Which you don't get paid to do.
No. But then he got that. And then I think Raising Arizona. And oh God, what a great conversation.
What a great career.
And last question, 3 of your favorite films of all time.
The Big Lebowski.
Yep.
That's it.
It stops there. Big Lebowski.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. Big Lebowski, The Gray Man, and Red Notice.
Very strategic answer, sir. Very, very strategic.
What else?
I find that to be the hardest question. Am I still allowed to say Woody Allen movies?
Look, man. Look, Annie Hall's still Annie Hall, brother. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Annie Hall is still Annie Hall. it's still a masterpiece, man. It's a freaking masterpiece, man.
It's a masterpiece. You know what? But there's got to be a Kubrick movie in there, which there probably should be. Barry Lyndon.
No, you like Barry? Oh, really?
Yeah. And it's not just to be different.
Mine's is Eyes Wide Shut. I'm an Eyes Wide Shut guy.
Oh, because you're a pervert.
Obviously.
Save it for Barry Sonnenfeld episode.
I'm a pervert. That's why I love Eyes Wide Shut so much. Oh no, we could talk hours on Kubrick alone. Jesus, man. Talk about somebody who just had did whatever the hell he wanted. Yeah. But the legends, after I've talked to a bunch of people who worked with him, he's like, he had a set of 10 people.
Yeah.
That's how he was able to shoot for a year with Tom Cruise. He had 10 people on set.
Yeah, who really believed in him and were like soldiers in his army.
He locked up 2 of the biggest movie stars in the world for a year and a half. I mean, what kind of juice is that? Seriously. Yeah. I mean, Jesus. Guys, it has been a pleasure talking to you both.
So fun.
So congratulations on all your success. I can't wait to see what you guys come up with next. And what do you guys have cooking next, by the way? Did I see something about Mega Man?
Yeah. We're writing Mega Man, an adaptation of Mega Man for Netflix.
God bless Mega.
Yeah, cool, right? About the future of automation.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's going to be really cool.
Man and robot becoming one, good or bad.
But guys,
we'll see.
It has been an absolute pleasure, guys. Seriously, congrats on all your success and continue success to you.
Thank you, Alex. Thanks for all the hustle.
Thanks so much.